again. I have not forgotten you. This is Pastor Naomi Barkanic from Spirit of Joy Lutheran Church in Clarkdale, Arizona. I think we've done about 8 videos on wishful thinking, and I just have taken a couple weeks off. And so I decided this week, this last Sunday, I better get going. We're on the M's, but we got to get all the way to the Z's. So let's begin. Remember, Wishful Thinking is the book. It's by Frederick Buechner, and it's just his definitions of theological terms from A through Z. And if anyone has turned on this video for the first time, welcome and join us. Join us in exploring the definitions in Buechner's book of Wishful Thinking. We will begin now with the word meditation. In our minds, we are continually chattering with ourselves. I know I do that a lot. And the purpose of meditation is to stop it. To begin with, maybe we try to concentrate on a single subject, like the flame of a candle, the row of peas we are weeding, our own breath. When other subjects float up to distract us, we escape them by simply taking note of them and then letting them float away without thinking about them again. We keep returning to the in and out of our breathing. Until there is no room left in us for anything else. To that candle flame, until we ourselves start to flicker and burn as we stare at that flame. To the peas we stare at until we become only a pair of grubby hands weeding them. And in time, and it takes time, we will discover that we are no longer chattering in our minds. If we persist, every once and so often we may find ourselves entering the suburbs of a state where we are conscious, but no longer conscious of anything in particular. Where we have let go of almost everything. And that is relaxation. The end of meditation is to become empty enough to be filled with the kind of stillness that the psalmist has in mind when he says, "Be still and know that I am God." That's from Psalm 46:10. Promise me that you'll work on meditation. The next word is, we skipped a couple of M's here, is morality. It is no secret that ideas about what is right and what is wrong vary from time to time and place to place. King Solomon would not be apt to see eye to eye with a Presbyterian missionary on the subject of monogamy. For that reason, a popular argument runs, morality is all relative to the tastes of the time, and not to be taken any more seriously by the enlightened than tastes in food, dress, architecture, or anything else. At a certain level, this is indisputably so. But there is another level. In order to be healthy, there are certain rules you can break only at your peril. Eat sensibly Get enough sleep and exercise. Avoid bottles marked with poison, marked poison. Don't jump out of boats unless you can swim, and so on. That's in order to be healthy and to stay alive. In order to be happy, there are also certain rules you can break only at your peril again. Be at peace with your neighbor. Get rid of hatred and anger and envy. Tell the truth. Avoid temptations to evil you're not strong enough to resist. Don't murder, don't steal, and so on. Both sets of rules are as valid for a 3rd century Hottentot as for a 20th century Norwegian, for a Muslim as for a Methodist bishop, for the Emperor Constantine as for Jackie Onassis. Both sets of rules, the moral as well as the hygienic, describe not the way people feel life ought to be, but the way they have found life is. You might have to come back to that. This was a little deep one. Morality. There are some things that change with the time and the culture, etc., etc. But there are other morals, as he said, are just as good for a 3rd century person as for a 21st century Norwegian or a Methodist bishop. Next word, music. Whereas painters work with space, the croquet players on the lawn, behind them the dark foliage of the hedge, above them the sky, musicians work with time, as one note follows another note, the way tock follows tick. Music both asks us and also enables us to listen to certain qualities of time. To the grandeur of time, says Bach. To the poignance of time, says Mozart. To the swing and shimmer of time, says Debussy. Or however else you choose to put it into words. The richness and complexity of what each of them is wordlessly saying. We learn from music how to listen to the music of our own time. One moment of our lives following another moment, the way the violin passage follows the flute, the way the sound of footsteps on the gravel follows the rustle of leaves in the wind, which follows the barking of a dog almost too far away to hear. Music helps us to keep time in the sense of keeping us in touch with time. Not just time as an ever-flowing stream that bears all of us away at last, but time also as a stream that every once in a while slows down and becomes transparent enough for us to see down to the stream bed, the way at a wedding, say, or watching the sunrise, past, present, future, are so caught up in a single moment that we catch a glimpse of the mystery that at its deepest place, time is timeless. Moving on to mystery. There are mysteries which you can solve by taking thought. For instance, a murder mystery whose mysteriousness must be dispelled in order for the truth to be known. But there are other mysteries which do not conceal a truth to think your way to, but whose truth is itself a mystery. For example, the mystery of yourself. The more you try to fathom it, the more fathomless it is revealed to be. No matter how much of yourself you are able to objectify and examine, living part of yourself will always elude you, the part that is conducting the examination. Thus, you do not solve the mystery, but instead you live the mystery. And you do that not by fully knowing yourself, but by being fully yourself. I love that. And you do that not by fully knowing yourself, but by fully being yourself. To say that God is a mystery is to say that you can never nail him down. Even on Christ, the nails proved ultimately ineffective. What about mysticism? Some people are really into mystics. Mysticism is where religions start. Moses with his flocks in Midian, Buddha under the bo tree, Jesus up to his knees in the waters of Jordan. Each of them is responding to something of which words like shalom, nirvana, God even, are only pallid souvenirs. Religion as ethics, institution, dogma, ritual, scripture, social action, all of this comes later, and in the long run maybe counts for less. For religions start, as Frost said poems do, with a lump in the throat, to put it mildly, or with a bush going up in flames, or a rain of flowers, a dove coming down out of the sky suddenly. I have seen things, Thomas Aquinas told a friend, that make all my writings seem like straw. Most people have also seen such things through some moment of beauty or pain, some sudden turning of their lives. Most of them have caught glimmers at least of what the saints were and are blinded by. Only then, unlike the saints, the mystics tend to go on as though nothing has happened. We are all more mystics than we choose to let on, even to ourselves. Life is complicated enough as it is. What about the word myth? M-Y-T-H. The raw material of a myth, like the raw material of a dream, may be something that actually happened once. But myths, like dreams, do not tell us much about what kind of actuality. The creation of Adam and Eve, the Tower of Babel, they do not tell us primarily about events. They tell us about ourselves. In popular usage, a myth has come to mean a story that is not true. Historically speaking, that may well be. But humanly speaking, a myth is a story that is always true. Just a little aside here, when I was in seminary, I don't know why, but suddenly Pinocchio became my mentor. You all know Pinocchio, the guy, the wooden puppet with a long nose when he lied. That story was a myth. It never happened. It's a wonderful children's story. But somehow I connected it with something I had to write about in seminary that Pinocchio came into my mind. Hey, that story was not historically true. But that story speaks volumes of truth. So remember, historically, a myth cannot be true. But humanly speaking, some stories, what we or that we call myths, are filled with truth. Sorry, I preached a little bit too much on that. All right, let's go to the next word. Oh, we're done with the M's. We're now on the N. Well, what a wonderful N. Neighbor. When Jesus said to love your neighbor, a lawyer who was present asked him to clarify what he meant by that word neighbor. He wanted a legal definition he could refer to in case the question of loving one ever happened to come up. He presumably wanted something on the order of a neighbor, hereinafter referred to as the party of the first part, is to be construed as meaning a person of Jewish descent whose legal residence is within a radius of no more than 3 statute miles from one's own legal residence, unless there is another person of Jewish descent, herein to be referred to as the party of the second part, living closer to the party of the first part than one is himself, in which case the party of the second part is to be construed as neighbor to the party of the first part, and is one self relieved of all responsibility of any sort of kind whatsoever. Instead, Jesus didn't tell that story, which I'm glad of. Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10. The point of which seems to be that your neighbor is to be construed as meaning anybody who needs you. Jesus' definition of a neighbor is anyone who needs you. And you know what? There was only one N. Only one N. And I think we'll stop there and we'll go on next time to the O's. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.